we have to speak very well and to stay relevant in the sport. And any opportunity you have to get on TV or a podcast, you have to take advantage of it. But this is an opportunity for me and Payment Cowboys and Luke to give back to the sport.
Rodeo time.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. I hope you guys have really been enjoying watching my shows. It's been fun to do. I've had awesome guests from the start to finish. But today's guests, they're pretty special. One of them, a Hall of Fame world champion cowboy, Kaycee Feild. You got inducted recently into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, Luke.
Yeah, and we have Jed Morley. Jed, thank you for joining us, owner of, we have Western Athletes. And the reason I brought Jed on is because you have kids involved in the sport of rodeo, and you want to see them to have a future and grow with the sport and to have something to finish at the end of their careers.
Absolutely. Thanks, Luke. It's honestly so exciting to be here and to see where rodeo is and where rodeo's headed. I'm just excited to be a part of the future of rodeo.
Well, and you and Kaycee got partnered up, and Kaycee, you kind of brought me in on it, and man, I was so intrigued because as an athlete that had been 20 years of rodeoing hard, when we retired, it's like, there's nothing. We're not, multiple world champions. You got 6, right? I think one more than me. I try not. Anyway, you have to take a shoe off and add a toe when you're counting. But, so when we retire, we don't have the Tom Brady type money, and I say that lightly, obviously. But not a lot to retire on. We have to keep working to survive and to support our families. Now, when you told me about Jed, this is something that would help benefit every cowboy out there.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jed, we developed a company called Payment Cowboys, a credit card merch account company, and it's dear to my heart, actually. So, what we do is it's kind of like an ambassador program. If Luke brings us any customers, we'll give him a profit of the profit of the process. A lot of P's. But no, and so just like Luke said, at the end of my rodeo career, the sponsors end, the winnings go away, and our rodeo careers are short. It's not like we're working on a career and we're going to have a 401k set up and we're going to have a great retirement. We really have to be smart with our money when we're making it, and then when it's over, we have to speak very well and to stay relevant in the sport. And any opportunity you have to get on TV or a podcast, you have to take advantage of it. But this is an opportunity for me and Payment Cowboys and Luke to give back to the sport. Through this, we created Cowboy Charities, and also a percentage of the profit goes to Cowboy Charities, and we want to make a difference in other people's lives. A few years ago, Trent Montero passed away in the arena, had a young baby at home, and what his wife is dealing with, and that little boy kind of sparked me, and I wanted to give back more. I wanted to make a difference in that little boy's life, not just a little lump sum check right at the beginning of this tragedy, but something that will benefit him the rest of his life and give his mom a little bit of a break. But that's where the passion of mine has started. And Trenton, that's not just the only story. There's so many similar stories like that. And so Payment Cowboys, Cowboy Charities, and Western Athletes, we're here to make a big difference and have some residual income for these cowboys when they're done rodeoing.
Well, and with technology nowadays, Jed, you gave me this card and you said, tap it, it's your card. And so I held it up to my phone and it took me right to it. And we could scroll down and see everything we want to see as far as my show, what's going on in my career, my life after rodeo. Or if you're rodeoing and you have that, it shows everybody, your sponsors or how to get a hold of me, how to get in touch with me, if we want to work together. And just a whole profile. And again, taking this little phone and this card, and it just opened up the door for a potential sponsor in obviously my retirement career, but an athlete, a young athlete, or somebody that's successful right now.
Yeah, I think the key is use technology. And I think in the Western world, a lot of times we get left behind on you're traveling, you're hitting the rodeo, you're going down the road. How do you actually monetize, build your own brand? And I think the thing that rodeo's missing is how do we build the brand and focus on the athletes And like both you guys that are world champions, you retire at the top of the field, but so many never become world champions. But you're broken when you're done. You know what I mean? You've built this reputation of hard, tough riding, but it takes a toll on your body, and you're young, and now you got to reinvent yourself. And so for me, having kids that have been in this space, I actually got involved in rodeo. Ironically, my son was a really good athlete. He broke his back and separated his hip. And the doctor actually said, one of the best things you could actually do is have your kid ride horses. And I didn't have horses. We weren't actually into really doing much with rodeo. And so from an outsider coming in, I've seen that true tough grit, the hard work, the faith family, that focus. And I've fallen in love with rodeo and horses. And so I've built an entire business around our brand and seeing the value of brand. But Western Athletes now comes in and says, let me help those athletes build their reputation, their story, their branding, so they become the brand. And we've got all the tools from helping them set up an LLC to do their taxes. Anything that they need, we've got the resources for that. But our technology is second to none from helping them tell their story and control the narrative.
Well, and you mentioned technology, and we were talking about it before we got on the show, but a QR code. We're going to pop it up on our show here when we do some edits and cuts. We're going to get this QR code popped up there, so all you watching and listening, you'll be able to see, hey, scan it with your phone, and it's as simple as that. But it could change. Like if we're talking about Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night, donate here, scan that code. Well, 10 minutes later, you guys have the technology now where 10 minutes later, we're going to say, okay, we're going to donate to this area, or we're going to do this and that. And that is something that I don't think the Western industry has seen a lot of yet.
For sure, and I think the cool thing with Kaycee over the years, we've done this at several rodeos. Think about this. They can actually, for the first time, scan the QR code at a rodeo and say, hey, I'm really interested in bear racing and bareback, right? Not steer wrestling, sorry, Luke. But whatever they're interested in, we can push that out to them. So now it's like, hey, here's the winning ride, or here's the merch, or here's the engagement. And at the end of the rodeo, could you imagine how cool it would be if the event producer could say, hey, thanks for coming. What did you like? We've done this. Now we've got real-time feedback, what the contestants liked, what the sponsors liked, and what the fans like, what they want more of. And it makes the rodeo better, and that's really been our focus, is how do we give that data, that analytics to the rodeos so that they become better and the fans can actually have a say in what they want.
Well, in case you know how important it is, I mean, if you put that code up for Power Pro, and you real time, okay, I had this QR code on, and now we see that 50 people watching, let's say the Luke Branquinho Show, scanned it, and this is the product we want. You get real time feedback from that.
Yeah, that data right there, you can't put a value on that. It's unbelievable, the power of the QR code and the data that it brings. When you start having the data and you can research the data, that's how you change. That's how you build. That's how you critique your business to get more scans.
Well, and again, rodeo cowboys and cowgirls, rodeo athletes, and me being guilty of it myself, you showed me this. I'm like, well, what do I have to do? Sign up, do this and that. I mean, we have a lot on our plate, it seems like. So a lot of times we get these apps and these things, and I don't fill them out. I just don't take the time, and I should. And I think that's the majority of our industry. Western Athletes, you sign up. They reach out to you, say, how can we help you build this? How can we help build your brand? So it's not necessarily me having to do all the work. You guys are willing to do it for them.
Absolutely. It's not one size fits all. It can be customized to your look, your feel. If you've got your own podcast, your own social media, your own channels, whatever you do to build you or promote yourself, we're here to help you stand out. We're here to help you build your own audience, to know the stats, analytics. Here's the one cardinal mistake everybody makes. And I mean, I don't care what industry you're in. They go to these big social media companies and they build everything on that. Well, guess what? One time you could make one mistake and get shadow banned, shut down, lose your audience, and it happens all the time. We tell them, look, own and control your own database. We give you that power, and that's the focus for every brand and every athlete, to own and control the narrative of their story. That's where real value is, and that's where rodeo's got to go, is we got to help build the athlete. Think about any other sport. I don't care which one. They always build the athlete first, right? That athlete needs to be the brand, and that's what we need to focus on, is building Western athletes and elevating the brand of the athlete.
You know, Jed, you were just touching on Western athletes, on how you guys are able to help them build their own brand and own their own stuff. I mean, it's something that, Kaycee, you and I growing up, starting to rodeo, we didn't have this luxury, or not luxury, we didn't have this opportunity.
For sure. Social media, that's a completely new thing in the rodeo world. The young kids nowadays, young athletes, whatever they be, and if it's high school rodeo or just starting their pro career, this is a huge opportunity to become a Western athlete. The doors that are going to open for you and the sponsorships that are going to start flowing your way are real. And then on top of that, Jed and his team and my team, we're here to educate you. We want to help you set up an LLC. So one thing about it, what I've learned too, is it's, I shouldn't say it's easy to make money, but it's harder to keep your money.
To keep it, exactly.
And so taxes is a big issue in the rodeo world. And a lot of rodeo cowboys don't have a lot of financial intelligence. And so
I'm laughing because it's the truth. I had a great career and I don't have a lot to show for it after my retirement.
I'm in the same boat. And so we're here to help cowboys be financially set and just ease a little part of their life where finance isn't such a burden on them, to where they can show up to rodeo and they don't have any outside pressure. Because when the money gets thin in your bank account, it's hard to go and perform with a clear mind at their rodeos. And so that's where Payment Cowboys and Western Athletes really wants to make a big difference.
Yeah, and we're just talking about Payment Cowboys, trying to get these Western companies, you know, to sign up, join up, because one, we can help save them money. Two, we give back to the charity, Cowboy Charity, and you touched on that a little bit. And what I liked when you first started talking to me about it, you guys have banks, you got, you know, it's not a woke company. I mean, you guys are there for supporting that business and 24-hour service, whatever is needed. You guys have got it figured out. We just need to get everybody on board with it.
Yeah, I'll let Jed take this, but I'll say real quick. In the payment world, it's very woke. I didn't believe that, but the little 3% charge, that money's going somewhere. And nowadays, it's going to a woke company, and these riots and all the crazy stuff happening in our amazing country and America is supported by these crazy companies and Clover, Stripe. I could go on and on.
We're just calling you out.
Yeah. But Jed, why don't you touch on that a little bit more and how we stand out as Payment Cowboys compared to all the other brands?
Well, for years, the thing that's been interesting for me is working with different banks. You know, we've got 50 banks that we work with, and the beautiful thing with this is knowing the industries and knowing the types of processing. Every tool is a little bit different, and if you think about how much money movement has changed over the last decade, right? It used to not be you had an app, or you couldn't do Venmo, or you couldn't do PayPal, and all of these things. Every one of those things have the ease, but then you also lose a lot of that from the big nameless, faceless banks or processors. So in our space, you know, we know and we come in and we underwrite specifically based on the type of business. And the cool thing with that is we tell people all the time, we're payment architects. You tell us what you need and we will give you the solutions and add value from, is it the right CRM? Is it the right gateway? Is it the right, system that you need for your accounting software? So oftentimes people come in and they say, we don't even know where to go with this because we're trying to figure out how from our treasury department to move the money from one bank to the next, or what accounting software. So when we look at this, we look at all of the aspects of movement of money. And the cool thing is our dashboards and our reporting are second to none. And that's been the cool thing. And so I got to tell you this, Luke, the cool thing is Kaycee would rodeo and Spanish Fork, and that's where I'm from. And so I'd kind of sit on the board and help with the Spanish Fork Fiesta days. And I tried to get him to talk with me about how do we work in the payments world? Let me help you build this. And so when he retired, we reached out and we got together. And one thing I got to say for Kaycee, and this is a huge thing, as he's introduced us to companies and businesses, I've loved to see him learn and become passionate about payments like he did riding, a bucking horse. And I can tell you, when we sit in those meetings, he asks all the questions. He's as involved in all of this knowledge that we're training him and teaching him on. So if you guys go to Payment Cowboys, you'll see Kaycee's the face, and he's really pushing this. And I've loved that same intensity with you, Luke. As we work together, we look at this and say, we really want to give back to people and change lives. We want to show you there's better options out there than what's you're seeing. And it's kind of coming back to that handshake, that tough grit, working with smaller banks that really care about you and your business, and with us. And that's been the power of it all.
Well, and I think that was what was intriguing to me, is trying to bring these companies in that are already in the Western world, but they already give to the Cowboys. But if we could help save them money and then we give that money back to the Cowboys, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. And, we've had some companies, I'm not naming names, that are in the industry. They're like, yeah, you saved us a little money, but we're going to stick with this. And that, I think, is one of the hardest, hurdles for me, is like, wait a second, we're saving you money and we're giving back, but you're not going to switch over. But the process of switching is stupid easy. And am I wrong?
Oh, it's simple. There will be no disruptions in your payments as well. As soon as you say, yeah, we're going to switch over, it's done. Our software is extremely easy. We'll have you approved maybe next day or in 2 days, really, really fast. Same day sometimes if the architect and everything draws it up the right way. But it is, and it's a unique brand. And to give back to the sport, like what we're trying to do, and these other brands that are interested in it and have switched over, they're seeing the power and they're seeing us give back to the sport, and extremely happy. And they're extremely happy with our platform, the dashboard that we have, and how we work.
Well, and again, I think we go back to the Western culture is, if we don't know, we don't really trust, right? And until we see like somebody else doing this, it's like, oh, this is working. Maybe we'll switch over. And that's what I think I love about Western athletes. I think this will get them in the door of like, okay, this group, this business, they're really out there to support the athletes. Now let's take a look at Payment Cowboys, because they're part of the same brand. And I think, again, with Western athletes and what you guys are doing with Payment Cowboys, the sky's the limit for this industry.
I think the other thing I want to do is just like give a shout out to one of the groups that we're working with, 4M Equine, right? They're a startup really pushing hard to build this brand and doing a phenomenal job. They got horses and athletes that are sponsored running, in the NFR this year. But the cool thing is by working with groups, we can come back and say we focus on building your brand as a company. So if you think about it, not only do we do the payments and we're behind the scenes, but with the magazines and with all the podcasts, with all the technology and all the marketing that we do, we really help elevate the brand. So you really look at it and say, okay, what other group behind the scenes is going to be down here doing a podcast talking about you and your brand, or pushing it to try to help you build your brand? So we really are, that partner in saying, help us help you build your brand and give you the best tools. But really the focus is down to the athletes. It's like, how do we help give back? And one of the greatest things, I learned years ago was I was at a big group. They came in, there was this orphanage that needed some money. And, at the time, all of us raised our hand and said, hey, I'll buy the van or put in the well or do whatever. And I just said at that time, why don't we give back on every transaction? And the cool thing is we've donated over $500,000 to this little orphanage in the Dominican Republic, doing the same model that we're now doing with Cowboy Charities. And that's been our focus. We've seen some real success where it really moves the needle and changes lives. And that's been the movement for me, is to say, how do we do this for you guys?
Kaycee Feild, we've been talking about Western athletes, Payment Cowboys, your retirement. I didn't give you quite the shout out. Congratulations on your Hall of Fame induction, in the Hall of Fame with legends, but I know the most important one in that you're with is your dad, Louie. Man, I was so happy for you when I seen you got the nomination and got put in. But let's talk about a little bit life after rodeo. I mean, you should have been here last year. In my opinion, they screwed you by not letting you count all your money because you didn't go to enough rodeo. You got to go to a lot of rodeos to count all your money, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So last national finals was in 22 then, right?
Yep.
And man, it still bugs me that they did that to you. But you have transitioned from retiring from rodeo to making a living doing something you're passionate about. But not only that, TV. Now we're starting with Kaycee Feild on the broadcast, and man, you've been doing an awesome job.
Well, sure, appreciate it. Thank you very much, Luke. Life after rodeo has been amazing. I was done rodeoing, and one of the reasons was I was frustrated with the industry that I was in. Just like I went to 18 rodeos and was fourth in the world, but I didn't go to 40 rodeos, so they didn't count all my money. But, but that aside, I'm very thankful and grateful for the sport of rodeo and what it has done for me in my life. And everything that I have is from a rigging and a glove and a cowboy hat. But life after rodeo, it's been a lot of fun. And what I've learned that has carried over is the cowboy way, the handshake, looking people in the eye, and being honest. And this business, what I've learned is the harder I work, the more I get out of it, the more I put into it, the better off it will be. And it's just like when I'm getting ready for the NFR. When I study and I do my homework, I get here and I'm confident, and I'm confident in my writing and the job I'm up against. And when you have confidence behind your craft, it sure helps, and you win a lot more. And so the transition from rodeo to business, it took me a little while to connect the dots. It took me a little while to learn how to write the goals, or write the right goals. I grew up in rodeo. I grew up watching rough stock. I watched my dad become a champion, and all of his friends coming over to the house for years. And so the world champion obviously is at the top. With this business, obviously, being successful and making a difference in people's lives. But once you start breaking it down into yearly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals, has been what's been kind of tricky for me, is trying to figure out how to structure my time and get the best benefit out of the time that I do have. And Jed has been a great mentor for me as well on the business side of things. But I'm really enjoying life right now. I have an open mind. When I'm with my kids and we go to their little sports games, it's basketball or soccer or football, whatever it be, I'm sitting in the stands and I'm watching my kids and their emotions and what they're up to, rather than, man, if I was at the rodeo and that judge called that shot, this is what I'd be doing. So life right now for me I'm just having an absolute blast.
Well, the same work ethic that got Kaycee Feild all those gold buckles in that Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame is the same work ethic he's putting in now. And man, I'm proud to one, be your friend, but proud to see what you're doing life after rodeo. Kaycee, appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm excited to see your future after rodeo.
I sure appreciate it. This was a blast for me to come on your show, and also I love watching your show. I love watching you do your TV stuff out at the NFR, out to the Thomas and Mack, and man, you're killing it. You're doing a great job. Love working beside you.
Well, I appreciate it. Jed, thank you for coming on. I'm excited to work with you and everything you got going in the Western spaces.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is you're way better looking in person than you are on TV, but it's all that makeup that they put on you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but the Western athletes, the thing that's really exciting for us is we're changing this minute by minute. And with artificial intelligence, I think one of the coolest things is we're using all the greatest technology. But if you think about that, nothing will ever replace the Western handshake,
right? That
knowledge and the connectivity. So, I'd highly recommend check out paymentcowboys.com, cowboycharities.com as well. And then Western Athletes is coming out.
Yeah, make sure you say you heard it on the Luke Branquinho Show. But we're also going to have that QR code put on there. You guys scan it from your TV, or if you're watching YouTube, borrow somebody's phone. I don't know how you really do that if you're watching it on your phone, and then scan it. But scan it, check it out. I appreciate you all for joining us here on the Luke Branquinho Show, and we'll see you next time.
And we start cleaning it out, and he's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Well, buddy, I think that's your bone." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And so we wrapped it up and sent him to the hospital, and sure enough, it was his bone poking out of his finger.
Hey, you want to see more in-depth details on the Luke Branquinho Show? Make sure you like and subscribe.